Well, folks, in today's video, we're in Merrickville, Ontario, and we're gonna pay a visit to one of my favorite model train stores out there, LarkSpur Line Limited. So this visit really didn't have a whole lot of planning, but every time we go out to Merrickville, I always like to visit this store and see what they've got in stock. And they had a lot of really interesting things this visit, which I wasn't expecting to find. And at the end of the day, I ended up walking away with some pretty cool things, which I can't wait to show all of you. Anyway, on with the tour. So we'll begin over here in the used consignment section, which is pretty much my favorite section of just about every train store out there. I can't say on this particular visit there was a whole lot of new stuff going on here. It was a lot of the same, so I didn't end up spending too much time here. I did, however, find this Athearn yellow box passenger car, which was sort of interesting. Doesn't look to be fully assembled, but finding Athearn yellow box stuff is something sort of interesting amongst a sea of Athearn blue box stuff out there. Anyway, next off, it was to the locomotive display case. A lot of the stuff towards this side of the display case looked to be stuff I had already seen before. I did visit the store a month ago, so it's really not surprising that not a whole lot in this display case has changed. But to the other side, I actually did up finding a few things which I don't recall seeing in the previous visit. They had these gorgeous buildings up there, and then they had the Mahano engines. Those have been there for a while. Sometimes there's a couple new ones, and I think they had possibly one which I hadn't seen before, I think from Mantua, so that was sort of interesting. And as we move over here, they have some various diesel locomotives. These are all used, but in quite good condition. You can see we've got some Proto, Athearn Blue Box, and a couple Katos, which look pretty sharp. And as we move down here, they've got a variety of different pieces of rolling stock, also kind of higher-end used stuff. Some pretty nice buildings right here. And then down here they had these really large, I guess they're box cars. There's probably a more specific name for these, but they had quite a variety. I do not recall seeing these in the previous visit. Maybe that's just my memory, but there were those. And then they had these. These were two gorgeous custom-built steam engines. I can't remember what kits these came out of, but apparently a local gentleman put a lot of effort into these, and you can see they really show it. Quite nice engines. So yeah, I don't recall seeing those in the previous visit. Apparently there were 5 different ones, all from the same gentleman, but I guess these were the last 2 which hadn't been sold off. Next, I wanted to show in detail a little bit more of the brand new stuff that this store carries, because they actually do have a very good selection of brand new stuff. I find I just don't usually go through it as much. Anyway, here are some Bachmann pieces. These are some grain cars, which apparently have red flashing lights on the end, which is, I guess, why they're higher cost. Anyway, those actually look pretty nice. I'm not the biggest fan of Bachmann models out there, but I have to say, those actually look like some decent pieces of rolling stock. And then over here they have a variety of different locomotives, tons of Rapido engines, and some Bowser. There's a variety of other manufacturers too, but I would say that at least to that side it's mostly Rapido. They have this pretty nice looking little Atlas switcher engine, really sharp piece. And to the side they also had a British Columbia locomotive. Really don't know what kind that is, but they had one. And a BNSF engine from Atlas. And right beside that, they had a pretty sharp Intermountain Sioux-Line engine. I've never owned a Intermountain locomotive before, but I have to say, going through all these diesels sure made me tempted. Especially this CNF unit was really something that I thought was quite a good-looking locomotive. These engines are definitely not dirt cheap, but I am considering possibly getting one in the not-so-distant future just to try them out as a manufacturer, because, as I said, a lot of these engines look to be pretty sharp models. Now here's their other consignment section. They had a variety of different things here. I really don't know why these were on consignment, but they are nice models. Got some Athearn, and this manufacturer, which I'm not so familiar with, and a variety of other stuff. You can see they got some Walters mainline. Those look pretty nice. And a couple other things. There was really nothing I was personally interested in, but maybe for the right person, these would be quite the deal. I find it almost unbelievable the amount of Rapido stuff this store carries these days. It's really amazing as a company just how much they've grown and the amount of products they have. This looks to be a Ontario Northland passenger car, and they had tons of different road names. This one looks to be CN. And the amount of different Bud cars that were here is really just something quite to behold, really. Just look at them all. Next up, it was on to the kind of older model kits. I found this one pretty interesting. I've seen these before. I didn't know they were from Lima, but anyway, there's one of them. Some sort of bridge system. And they've got a ton of old model power and Tyco stuff. I think there was some Bachmann in there, too. I can't say there was anything I was particularly interested in, but I always find myself going through this section just for kicks, because sometimes you find a really interesting vintage model at a pretty decent price. And they've got tons and tons of used buildings also on consignment. They had a whole variety of different stuff. And I find there is new stuff turning up pretty often, so I always like to look through all of this. I would say that LarkSpur probably has the most used buildings in HO scale out of any train store I've ever been to before. I mean, the selection is just crazy. And you find stuff like this train station, which it looks like somebody converted into a model restaurant. And it's just fun to look for that stuff. And I actually ended up finding something in just a moment, which I found pretty interesting. There were actually a couple things, but yeah, going through the used buildings is always definitely a highlight of this store. So as when I was going through here, I found a couple things which really stood out to me. They had a whole bunch of buildings here. I've seen some of these before. But then I found this thing. I have no idea what exactly this thing is, but it's really cool, I've got to say. Quite an impressive piece. No idea what it does, but it looks to be something for moving coal around. I'm sure somebody knows the purpose of that building, but I thought it was very interesting. And then I walked over here and I found something unbelievable. Check this out. An entire circus display going for 30 bucks. No way. I absolutely couldn't believe this thing. So, yeah, I bought that pretty much instantly. So I'm now obviously back home, and I actually ended up buying a whole variety of different things, which I'm going to show you all. I mean, you obviously know what the biggest thing of all of these is, but I'm going to show you everything I got, because I did get a few other things. So the first thing I got was this massive lot of cork roadbed. This was going for $12.95. I'm pretty sure it's used, but it's in terrific shape, so I just figured, what the heck, that seems like a good deal. And then I was quite pleasantly surprised by actually getting it for free, because I fixed those engines for the store owner, and as a return he gave me the cork for free. So yeah, now I've got all of this and can work on all sorts of different projects. So I thought that was good. The other thing I got is something that I should have just bought the previous visit. I don't know why I didn't, but I knew if I found this thing again, I was definitely going to buy it, and it's a Hershey's boxcar. I have two of these, but I figured having three would be awesome. I mean, we've got the Hershey factory, and there's a rail yard in, well, not a rail yard, but, you know, some spots to shift cars around behind the factory, so I figured having some Hershey cars would be fun. These are far from the real Hershey cars that Hershey actually was using behind the factory, but it will, I think, add to the environment in a fun way. So yes, there's our Hershey car. And then the third thing, which I am just so blown away by, an entire circus for $32. I really couldn't believe that. It's just an amazing scene. I'm blown away by the amount of detail. When I saw this thing, I just thought there's so much color. It's just so cool. You don't see things like this every day. So when I saw it, I was like, that's impressive. And then when I just saw that it was only going for 30 bucks, I just couldn't resist that. So yeah, here it all is. I love having scenes like this too, especially people, when I show them the layout, maybe they're not as much into trains. They can look at the scenes, and something like this is really, it's a lot of eye candy is what it is. And yeah, unfortunately, part of the reason it was going for a bit cheaper is because it's not in perfect shape. It needs some work, but that's really no trouble. Had a little bit of a lower story, I guess you could say. Unfortunately, somebody, I guess in Germany, actually built this set, and they shipped it over here to someone who they thought would want it, And they never did, and they left it in their basement for 5 years. So hopefully this is opening a bit of a brighter chapter, and people that come to see the layout can enjoy seeing it again. So yeah, hopefully a bit of a brighter future for this thing. And we'll give it some work, and I'm sure we can have it dazzling. Anyway, that's going to be it for today's video. I did buy one other thing. This thing is something that I'm so kind of enthusiastic about. I want to make it its own video because it was sort of a big deal. I don't usually buy things of this kind of caliber. So yeah, expect that soon. But until then, thank you all so much for watching.